Welcome back to the Profit Builder Unscripted. I'm super excited about today's episode where we're going to talk about how do you start to listen to the gut instinct to make changes in your business or in your life and trust yourself in the process. All right, let's jump in. A little while back, my associate Dortha asked me if I would be interested in recording a podcast around why am I doing this podcast? What's unique about it? And what has inspired me wanting to do it? And I like the idea because sometimes we just listen to podcasts or, it's just information that's flowing through. And, I'm doing it for a very intentional reason. And part of the different aspects of it, I'm doing with a very intentional purpose. And I wanted to share that with you. I thought that it was a great request. So this is Dortha interviewing me and asking me those questions around why am I doing this and what's the purpose of it? So Dortha and I have been working together for well over 10 years now. She's amazing. She's my go-to person for a whole bunch of different things in my business. And I am so grateful for you. So thank you for all you do. And thanks for asking me to do this. And I'm just excited to sort of jump in.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And thanks for allowing the space to have this conversation, because I think it's going to be fun to share and learn what prompted you to do this. So I'll just dive right in. So tell us what prompted you to shift from doing a blog to a podcast?
Well, I've been doing the blog for a very long time and I really enjoyed it for a lot of years. And it's the focus of it had a lot to do with training and teaching. And while I, in my heart of hearts, am really totally a trainer and a teacher, and there's a lot of what I love to do, and to be able to help people build better businesses and be more efficient and all those good things. At my heart, I'm also a coach. And I realized that in my coaching is the whole idea that how we think really starts to drive our behavior. And when we can start to have different thinking about how we approach business or how we approach building a team or managing people or doing sales or running our businesses in general, when we have the thinking, we can start to have a different behavior. And I realized, so one of the reasons was that I wanted to have a platform for being able to talk more about, hey, like, what is it to be a leader? What is it to run a business? And what are the things that can really help you in that journey? That's not just about the tactics and the tools, which the blog is still around and all those tactics and tools are still there. But how do we start to share a different level of conversation about what is it like to be a leader? What is it like to be a business owner? So that was number one. I really wanted to shift it so that it was more, that it was not just about a head thing and learning and tactics and strategies, but it really started to shift down to more of a heart thing that has to do with communicating and sharing at the level of our shared humanity. So that was one. And two, I really wanted to be able to reach more people. And my blog, if you get my emails, that, an email would be going to you and you would get notification that the blog was there. Or if you happen to do a search and fall on the, on the website, or if you saw a YouTube video, you might see the blog. But I also realized there was a bit of a limited reach in what I could do with a blog, and I could reach more people and serve more people with a podcast. So those are the two big reasons why I shifted from a blog format to a podcast.
Awesome. So you touched on it a little bit about the heart and the head, and I would love to hear you share a little bit more about the distinction of listening to the heart and not just the head.
Yeah. Well, part of my realization was that I think that we connect with people at the level of how we make people feel, or how we connect with them in our humanness or our realness or authenticity. that one of the things that occurred to me, and it wasn't like I woke up one day with this. It was really like I've been on this journey of growing myself as a human being and really looking at what's the difference that I want to make in the world, and what is the contribution that I'm making. And one of the thoughts that occurred to me is that people don't care so much about what you say. I mean, they do, but people really care about how you make them feel. And it really started me looking at, do I spend very much time communicating from my heart? Or do I spend most of my time communicating from my head? And when I do one-on-one coaching work with people, there's a lot of that, like connecting with people at a heart level, and really like our shared humanity, and really connecting with people at a more personal level than there is when I'm doing the blog, let's say, or if I'm writing an article or sending an email. And what I realized is that if my goal in life is to be able to touch, move, and inspire as many people as possible to make a difference in their lives and in their businesses, I needed to start shifting the conversation from one of being super heady to one of, how do I connect with people? How do I relate to people more with what they're dealing with day in and day out? And that has been really important, and it's really started to shape how I do the podcasts, and what I'm talking about and what I'm sharing about is really more about like the journey, right? The journey that we're all on as leaders, as business people, as human beings. I think that it's super important. And the more we can share at that level, the more I can share at that level, I think the more impact I can have to change people's lives. And again, that's a goal of mine. It's why I do what I do.
Yeah. So you're talking a little bit about legacy, right? That's a little bit what I'm hearing there. Um, so why do you think people sharing their stories is so important?
I think it has people sharing their stories. It has to do with our shared humanity. I think that when we share our stories, it helps us know that we're not alone. One of the things that's really been running through my head for several months, there's a podcast to be recorded about just this topic, which is, we've got this constant critic that runs in our head that, I should be more of, or better, or smarter, or faster, or, such and so does it better than me, or,
Yeah.
there's this constant press that I think we put on ourselves. And I think a lot of times that we look at other people and go, wow, that person's got it figured out, or wow, I'll never be as good as he or she. And the whole thing about having people share their stories, I think, is a way for us to understand that we're not alone. That, a lot of times our greatest learning comes from our greatest breakdowns.
Mm.
And our when we can share about our greatest learnings as it relates to some of our greatest breakdowns or some of our greatest challenges, I think it has us not feel so alone. I think it has us feel like other people understand our world. I think it gives us encouragement and hope for the fact that that maybe we're not as bad as we think we are. Well, and I also think that it helps us not feel so alone. And that, I think, is super important, because
Mm.
I think business ownership I think business ownership can be a very lonely journey. And I
Mm.
think that the more we can share our stories, the more that we can share our learning and our growth, that I think it gives us hope and encouragement about who we can potentially become. And I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit for who we are, where we've come to, and what we have accomplished. I think we focus too much on what we haven't done. I think compare is really a challenging thing that doesn't really serve us. And so I think the more I can break those things down and I can help people have more appreciation and grace for themselves and feel a sense of camaraderie and connection with their fellow business owner. I think the more then it creates an environment where people feel more supported and empowered and encouraged.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So talk a little bit about why you're so passionate. I mean, I can feel it, and I'm sure everyone can feel it that's listening to this. So tell me why you're so passionate about this podcast.
I'm really passionate about this podcast because I'm super excited about the direction it's going, right? I'm super excited about starting to do these interviews, and I've been talking with more and more people and having people share their stories, and that's been super fun. I've loved that sense of connection with people at more of a down to earth level, just sharing myself. That's felt really good. And I'm passionate about all of that because my commitment to the construction industry is to help people be able to succeed at at whatever it is that they want to succeed at. And I believe that as human beings, um, we are so much greater than what we give ourselves credit for. And that if I can provide a platform for people to A, appreciate themselves more, B, have the sense of feeling of support and encouragement along the path, that if I can give them some tools and resources and a way and an opportunity to be able to get closer and accomplish what they want to accomplish, then I've done my work. This is my life's work, is to serve this industry and to elevate people's ability to be able to have the success that they desire. And like I said, I really being able to reach as many people as possible to be able to support that. I'm super excited about that. So I'm super excited about doing the podcast because I feel like it's creating this greater opportunity and opening for being able to contribute to more people.
Awesome. So, what advice would you have for someone who's feeling like a nudge or a pull to do something different? What suggestions would you have for them?
Ooh, my suggestion for somebody who has a pull or a nudge to do something different would be to, first of all, listen to it. This was not changing from doing the blog to doing a podcast. It was a much bigger endeavor than I originally thought it was. And it was a little bit scary to do it. And any time that we put ourselves out there in a bigger way or put a bigger stake in the ground, it can be really scary. And yet the thing that I have learned over and over again, it seems, is that when I get that nudge, when that voice in my head says, you just need to do this, you really need to do this, that listening to it is like it's not there by accident. Like we get those nudges because the universe is telling us that there's something else that we should do. And I get that it's scary. And I think when we go ahead and do it anyway, some really amazing things can come out of it. And even if we don't know what we're doing, like when I started this podcast, like, Dortha can attest to this, like we flailed, we struggled, we ended up changing platforms midstream. Like we went through some challenges and I learned some things and I grew and we all grew in the process. That I'm like, not for a second do I regret any of it, because every part of that struggle has made us better at what we do, and we've learned a ton. And I feel in some ways we're much better at the whole podcast thing than we were at the blog thing because of the challenges we've had to face. So I think that, when we have a nudge, listening to it and taking that action can sometimes give us rewards that are far beyond whatever we thought was possible. When, instead of like staying with, well, I know what I know, being
Yeah.
willing to listen to your gut, I think can create some really beautiful, amazing things in our lives. And it's certainly been true for me over the years. And I'm really grateful to have listened to this nudge and to done this and to have done, this change with doing the podcast. Cause I just know in my heart that it will better serve what my ultimate goal is in life.
Absolutely. So I think my last question is just to, do you want to leave any parting words, or how do people get in touch with you? How can they become a guest on the show? Any of that?
So what I would say is if you're a couple of things, if you're looking to reach me, you want to chat, find out more about what it is that I do, you can reach me at Vicki, Bicki, at suitorbusinessbuilders.com. And the other thing I would say is I would love to have you as a guest on the show. If you're somebody who has a story that kind of sticks out for you, where you go, you know what, this thing happened in my life and it really changed how I do business. It changed how I live my life. It changed me in some way that I'm grateful for. And it's that whole thing. I had some breakdown that really created this great breakthrough, some event that happened that changed how you think or how you operate in your business and in your life. I would love to interview you for the podcast. And reach out to me. I can explain to you what the process looks like. It's pretty simple. If you listen to the podcast, you'll hear some people's interviews and hear kind of how that looks and how it sounds. And it doesn't have to be something dramatic yeah, it doesn't have to be something dramatic. It could just be something that was like just like you shifted how you were seeing life or how you were doing business that really has positively impacted you and your business and your life. And I think the last thing I would just say is if you know of anybody else who is in the construction industry who could get value from listening to the podcast, please share it. Like I said, my goal is to be able to support and impact in a positive way as many lives as I can through this medium and in the work that I do. I love working with contractors. I think contractors are some of the smartest people I know. Love this industry. And I really am so grateful that I've had the opportunity to impact it in a positive way. So if you know somebody else who can get value from this, please share it.